Consider a number line showing the whole numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and so on. These counting numbers, whole numbers. And we know that using this number line we can move up or down, adding and taking, counting up, counting down the number line. Now we also know that there is a second type of number that exists on this number line. They're not shown on here, but they do exist. That in between each of these whole numbers, we have the decimals. This second type of number that takes place in the gaps. Now, the problem is this isn't the whole story. And as anybody who has a bank account may well know, this isn't the whole story. That if we're thinking about adding and taking, adding moving up the number line, taking moving down the number line, we know that if we are starting at something like 6, the most we could ever take away is 6. That we could go 6 jumps down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, i.e. doing a takeaway. The most we could ever do is 6 take away 6 and reach 0, reach absolutely nothing. Except where it comes to things like money. Because we know from life that sometimes it is possible to spend more money than we have and to go into debt, to end up owing the bank some money, to actually go past that level of having £0 into what's called the negative numbers or the minus numbers. So we need to extend this number line down to include those as a possibility, to include this third type of number. So what we do is we effectively mirror our number line about that 0 point. So we have 0 and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and so on the right hand side. And these are the positive numbers. And again we also have the decimals in between there. So anything on the right hand side of the 0, whether it's a whole number or a decimal, is a positive number. Anything on the left hand side of the 0, whether again it's a whole number or a decimal, because we can have decimals in this negative zone, this negative region of the number line, they are the negative numbers. They are sometimes called the minus numbers as well, so negative numbers or minus numbers. And they work in this kind of way, that we have on the right hand side 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and so on. On the left hand side we have the -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, the negative numbers. Now direction of travel on the number line is in that direction, towards the right. And the further towards the right we go on the number line, the bigger the number. For example, 10 is bigger than 9, which is bigger than 8, which is bigger than 7, and so on. So the further towards the right we are on the number line, the bigger the number. Now, the number line falls apart if we have two different facts about where things are bigger. So wherever we are on the number line, whether we are on the negative side or the positive side, the direction of travel, the normal direction of travel, is up the number line, in that right-hand direction. So the further towards the right we are on the number line, wherever we are, the bigger the number. So much as 10 is bigger than 9, well, anything in the positives is bigger than the negatives. That makes sense. So 1, for example, is bigger than 0, which is bigger than -1 or -1. But that also means that the closer to 0 we are, when we're just looking at the negatives, the bigger the negative number. So while 3 is bigger than 2, that is true, -2 is bigger than -3 because it's further towards the right. So -1 is bigger than -2, which is bigger than -3, which is bigger than -4, which is bigger than -5, which is bigger than -6, and so on. They get smaller this way. The digits get bigger, sure, but the number gets smaller, moving towards the left, moving down the number line. Normal direction of travel is up the number line, so the further up the number line, the further towards the right we are, the bigger the number is. So the first type of question that we might have that involves these negative numbers is a put these in order of size question. So put the following numbers in order of size: -5, 4, 0, -3, -1. Now for these numbers where there isn't a sign in front of it, they are positive numbers. We could write these down, for example, as 4 or as +4, positive 4. They are both the same thing. We tend not to bother with that plus sign if we mean a positive number. It tends to be the case that if it is a minus, it will have a minus sign. If it doesn't have a minus sign, it must be a positive number. So we're looking at these numbers then. These 5 numbers, we want to put them in order of size. That means the one furthest to the right on the number line is the biggest and the one furthest to the left is the smallest. So we go along our number line and we see which ones we hit. Well, we're going to hit the -5 first. That must be the smallest because it's the one furthest to the left. The next one we're going to hit is the -3. So that must be next. Then we're going to hit the -1. Then we're going to hit the 0. And then we're going to hit the 4. And that must be the order, putting them in size from smallest to largest. Now, negative numbers are just numbers. They exist on the number line, and if they exist on the number line and are just numbers, they have to be able to do everything that all other numbers can do. So if we think about the positive numbers, they have a size, and we can put them in order of size. We've just done that with the negative numbers. What else can we do with the positive numbers? Well, we can have decimals that exist between them. Same with the negatives. Decimals exist in there, and it is perfectly reasonable to have something like -2.3, say. And the other thing we can do with the positive numbers is we can do mathematical operations with them. We can add, take, times, and divide with them. And if we can do them with positive numbers, then we also have to be able to work with negative numbers in the same way, and be able to use them in add, take, times, and divide questions. We're going to focus on adding and taking first. Now, adding and taking, whether we are dealing with positive numbers or negative numbers, has certain key features to it. The first thing we need to know is we need to know our start point. And we need to be able to find, for example on a number line, where our start point is. We then need to know whether we are moving up the number line or whether we are moving down the number line. And as long as we know which direction we're moving in, we can then apply the third piece of information from our adding or taking question, which is how many jumps we are going. So we just need to identify those 3 bits of any given question. Now, an important thing about this idea of direction. So the normal direction of travel on the number line is to the right. Up is the normal direction of travel. And if we have something like this, say, 3 plus 5, perfectly reasonable add question, the first number here, the 3, is our start point. This is where we start. We would start at the 3. The 5 is how many jumps we go, because we're either going to be going 5 jumps up or 5 jumps down. Now bear in mind that the normal direction of travel is up the number line. That plus sign in the middle does nothing to change the direction of travel. The final direction of travel is still up. So we're going to start at 3, we're going to go 5 jumps up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to end up at 8. And there is our answer to this question. Perfectly reasonable, perfectly fine. Now consider this question, 9 take away 5. Similar kind of setup. So the first number here, and the first number is always going to be our start point. We are starting at 9. We are then either going to go 5 jumps up or 5 jumps down, because the 5 is the number of jumps that we're going. To work out which way we're going, up or down, we need to look at the symbol in the middle. And what that symbol in the middle, that negative sign, that take away sign, whichever one you want to call it, does, is it reverses the direction of travel on the number line. We will be expecting to be going up the number line, but that minus sign there, that subtract sign, reverses the direction that we're going in, so that we are now going down the number line. A very key point to make about this, the minus sign does not send us down the number line, it reverses the direction that we're travelling in. It so happens that in this case, that sends us down. So we'll be expecting to go up, we're starting at the 9, the minus reverses the direction of travel, We're now going down the number line. How many jumps? 5 down. Start at the 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we end up at 4. And 9 take away 5 is 4, as we were probably expecting. So all of that gives us a plan of action for any adding or taking question that involves negative numbers somewhere in there. Step 1, we're going to identify the start point, and the start point is always going to be that first number there, positive or negative. Step 2, we're going to identify how many jumps we're going in, and that will be the other number, the second number in the question. And step 3, we're going to identify the direction that we're moving in. And remember, a positive sign does nothing to change the direction. A negative sign reverses the direction, and we're always starting off on the assumption that we are travelling in the normal direction up the number line towards the right. So let's have a look at a couple of examples. First one, 3 plus minus 6. First thing we're going to do, we're going to box off our start number, and our start number is always this first one here, the 3 in this case. So we are starting at 3, positive 3. We're going 6 jumps, so we're either going 6 jumps up or 6 jumps down. We are expecting to be travelling in the normal direction of travel up the number line. And let's see what the signs do to that direction. So we've got the 3 in a box. The first sign we come to after the boxed off 3 is a plus, and a plus does nothing to change the direction of travel, so the arrow continues to point up the number line. We then come to a minus, and a minus reverses the direction of travel. And in reversing the direction of travel, we're going to be moving down the number line. That's all the signs dealt with. We've used all the signs. So now what we're doing is we're starting at 3, final direction is down, and we're going down 6 jumps. So we're going to start at 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 jumps down will take us to minus 3. It can be helpful to give these answers a little bit of context as well. Besides just the direction idea, you could also think of this as starting with a positive number, we are adding in some negatives. We are making it more negative. And if it's becoming more negative, then it's going to decrease, it's going to go down. It's becoming more negative. Minus 10 plus minus 3. So step 1, we're going to box off our start point. Our start point here is the minus 10. That minus sign is stuck to the 10, it can't drift away from it, so we're starting at the minus 10. We've already used that sign. We're going to be going 3 jumps from the minus 10. We just need to look at the other signs to see which way we're going. So again, we've already used this sign. This sign has been taken into account when we found our start point. So the next sign we come to, the first one we come to after that box, is a plus. Normal direction of travel is up the number line towards the right, and a plus does nothing to change the direction of travel. So we've dealt with the plus. The minus, however, reverses the direction of travel and is going to send us down. You might be wondering why that minus didn't reverse the direction of travel at all. Well, it's because we used that to find the minus 10. It sort of already did. We'd be expecting to be dealing with a positive number to start with, but that minus said, nope, you're on the other side of the number line, you're down here. So it's already kind of given us a reverse. The plus did nothing to change it, the minus reversed us, so we are now final direction of down, starting at the minus 10. We're going down 3 jumps, so it's going to go minus 11, minus 12, minus 13. And again, we are starting from minus 10. We are adding in some negatives. We are making it more negative. And if it's getting more negative, it will go down the number line and become smaller. Minus 7, take away minus 3. Step 1, let's identify our start point. So we're going to use the minus stuck to the 7. That's going to send us down to the lower half of the number line, starting at the minus 7 there. We've used that sign already. So we're starting at the minus 7. We're going 3 jumps. We're either going 3 jumps up or 3 jumps down. We need to use the other signs that we haven't used, that's these 2 in the middle, to work out which direction we're going in. We're expecting to be travelling up the number line. But this first minus we come to here will reverse the direction that we're travelling in. And if we're reversing the direction we're travelling in, we're going to be moving down the number line. That's this sign used, but we've still got this one to factor in as well. And every time we come to a minus, we reverse the direction we're travelling in. So this one will reverse the direction again and will in fact send us back up the number line. So we've used this minus sign here to give us the start point of the -7. This one reversed the direction of travel and sent us down the number line, and this one reversed it again and sent us back up. This is why I was very clear in saying that the minus doesn't send us down the number line, it reverses the direction we're travelling in, from whichever direction we were last pointing. So our final direction is up the number line. We are starting at -7 and we are going up 3. So that's 1, 2, 3, and we end up at -4. This might seem a bit weird. How, if we're taking away something, can we get bigger? Well, because we are taking away some negatives. We are making this -7 less negative. We are getting rid of some of the negatives. If we get rid of some negatives, it will have to get more positive. We're making it less negative, i.e. more positive, and it will get bigger to end up at the -4. Alternatively, if you just want to think of it as a direction thing, then that's fine. So the first minus reverses the direction and sends us down. The second one reverses it again and sends us back up. We're making it less negative, so it will get more positive overall. And -7, take away -3, is -4. Now obviously when thinking about this direction stuff, I have the advantage of a green arrow here. You will not in the exam, but you could always use your pen, for example. You could always use your pen as an arrow on the number line, up, down, up, and use your pen to point the direction that you are travelling in. I would strongly encourage you to use this idea of direction changes, box off the first number, recognise how many jumps we're going to make, and then think about the direction of travel. Expect to be travelling up the number line, and then every minus sign reverses the direction, and every positive sign doesn't change anything. We need to have a think about timesing and dividing as well, so let's have a look at a particular question. 4 times -3. Well, first thing we're going to do is we're going to ignore the minus sign. Because this involves a 4 and a 3, yes, it's a -3, but we'll gloss over that for now. Because the two numbers that are involved are something to do with 4 and something to do with 3, the answer will have to be something to do with 12. Any type of 4 times any type of 3 will be some type of 12. So the answer then is either going to be plus 12 or minus 12. Focus on the number part first, ignore the signs. 4 times 3 is 12. And the answer then will either be plus 12 or minus 12. We just need to work out which one it is. Let's think about the direction thing again. We can kind of adapt the direction thing from the adding and taking to use here. With timesing and dividing, we don't really have a start point. But we do have a base number that we can use, and that's the 12. And we can work on the assumption that we would expect it to be a positive number, and then change it if it's not. We would expect this to be a positive, but we have a minus here. And what does a minus do? A minus reverses the direction that we're moving on the number line. It says actually, you're not going to be going up the number line with this one, you're going to be going down, because there's one minus, one change of direction, and the answer will in fact be minus 12. You could even reason that out with some logic. You could think about that as being £3 in debt, maybe. If you take £3 of debt and make it 4 times bigger, you're in £12 of debt. So you're on minus 12. Minus 24 divided by 3. We're dividing this time, but we could do it with the same kind of thinking. We don't have a start point in terms of being on the number line, but we do have a guide that we can use. We can ignore the signs for the minute and think, well, if it was 24 divided by 3, then the answer would be 8. The fact that this is minus 24 means that the answer will either then be positive 8 or negative 8. It will either be a plus 8 or a minus 8. We just need to work out which one of those it is. But clearly the answer, if the question is something to do with 24 and 3 being divided, the answer will be something to do with 8. We can expect that the answer will be a positive 8 and then correct it if we need to. So we'd be expected to be on this right-hand side, this positive side of the number line. But the minus in front of the 24, well, whenever we come across a minus, we reverse the direction of travel. And we're going to find that actually we're on the left-hand side. So it is in fact going to be a -8. You could reason this one out as well. That's £24 of debt shared among 3 people. They will get £8 of debt each, so -8. -9 divided by -3. Same kind of thinking, let's ignore the signs for the minute and just deal with the 9 and the 3 and that divide in the middle. So 9 divided by 3 is 3, and we'd be expecting our answer to either be a +3 or a -3, depending on what the signs of the actual numbers tell us about the final direction. Let's assume it will be a +3 and we'll be on this upward right-hand positive side of the number line. And that minus there, in front of the 9, will reverse the direction of travel, because every time we have a minus, we reverse the direction of travel. And we'll say, actually, it's going to be a -3, it's going to be on the left-hand side. But what about this one here? This minus will also reverse the direction of travel, and it will send it back up again, onto the positive side of the number line. 2 minuses, 2 changes of direction, so we're back on the positive side of the number line, and our answer is just going to be +3, or 3. We could reason this one out too. Different way of reading the divide, not -9 shared into -3, because that doesn't make much sense, but you could think of it as how many -3s are there in -9? Perfectly reasonable way of reading a divide. How many £3 debts are there in a £9 debt? There are 3 £3 debts in a £9 debt, so the answer would be 3. -7 times -2. Well, same kind of thing again. Let's ignore the signs, the -7, the -2. Let's just deal with the number part first. So 7 times 2 is 14. And our answer is clearly going to be something to do with 14, either +14 or -14. We can use the signs to help tell us which one of those it's going to be. So the minus in front of the 7, if our normal direction is up, the minus in front of the 7 is going to reverse the direction of travel and send us down to the lower half of the number line. But then the minus in front of the 2 is going to reverse it again, because whenever we have a minus, we reverse the direction of travel. So the minus in front of the 2 is going to reverse the direction of travel again and send us back up to that positive side. And our final answer then is going to be +14. There isn't really a neat real-world way of explaining why this is the case. Actually, this one just has to exist because the pattern means that it has to. The pattern works for all of the others, and you can explain those away using some real-world stories. This one, there isn't really a neat way of doing it. There isn't really a neat context from the real world in which something like -7 and something like -2 will be times together, but we might as well complete the set by following the pattern. The pattern works for the others, so it will have to work here as well. 2 minuses, 2 changes of direction where the normal direction is up, 2 changes of direction sends us back to where we started, and we end on a +14.